you want, or you can use this.
You can use that. सरांची एक फाईल आहे.
ऑटो क्लिक करू नका.
मी करणार. ओपन करून बघू, झाली तर त्यातनच प्ले करूया. कळलं ना?
एक मिनिट. Yes, we got this one, na? Okay.
ठीक आहे. नंतर तुला बघायचं आहे ना? नाही हे लाव ना. आपलं कुठे गेलं ते? अच्छा, चालूच आहे ना. ओके, स्विच केलं.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Vidyalankar Jnanapeeth Trust, I, Professor Shilpa Gaikwad, extend a warm welcome to our respected dignitaries on the dais, and faculties and students for Shri Prabhakar Devdhar Memorial Lecture on Can We Build Technology in India, for India and the World? This memorial lecture is very special for us, for Vidyalankar, as it honors a person, Shri Prabhakar Devdhar, who was classmate of our Vidyalankar Institute's founder, our Baba, Professor Chandrasekhar Deshpande. Both devoted their lives towards making great contributions to the society. We feel privileged to have a gathering of revered personalities amongst us. We are truly honored to have the dignitaries on the dais, Shri Shivanand Kanavi, former president of Tata Consultancy Services, Shri A.P. Deshpande, former chairman, National Center for Science Communicator, Shri Suhas Naik Satam, Chief Executive, National Center for Science Communicator, Dr. Siddhi Vinayak Barve, General Secretary and Director, Scientific Research Center, Vajay Education Trust, Mulund, Dr. Ashish Ukidve, Principal, Vidyalankar Polytechnic. Let us begin this event by remembering the eternal light which symbolizes knowledge and divinity. Deepa Suryagni Rupastvam, Tejasam Teja Uttamam, Gruhan Matkrutam Pujam, Sarva Kama Pradobhava. May this light accept our humble offerings and bless us with fulfillment of all noble desires. It's our tradition to worship Goddess of knowledge and wisdom before any important event. So let us dedicate our prayers to Ma Saraswati. I request all to rise for Saraswati Vandana. Padmasana. Let us begin with the felicitation of our honorable guests. I request Shri Suhas Naik Satam sir to kindly felicitate Shri Shivananda Kanavi. Thank you, sir. I request Dr. Ashish Ukidve to felicitate Shri A.P. Deshpande, sir. I request Ashish, sir, to kindly felicitate Shri Suhas Naik Satam, sir. And also felicitate Dr. Siddhi Vinayak Barve, sir. Thank you, sir. Vidyalankar's journey of pursuit of excellence in academics commenced from the year 1960 by Sri Chandrasekhar Deshpande. Taking the legacy ahead, our managing trustee, Shri Vishwas Deshpande, under his visionary leadership, is striving to be the best in creating a knowledge center, which includes Vidyalankar Institute of Technology, Vidyalankar School of Information Technology, and Vidyalankar Polytechnic. We are committed to prepare students to cater to the societal needs. For this purpose, Vidyalankar has been organizing various events on upcoming technologies, new initiatives in science, engineering, and skill sector. Let us take a moment to reflect on our roots and achievements. We are pleased to present a brief video on the history and milestones of Vidyalankar.
Vidyalankar is not just a name, it's a tradition of excellence. Here, reliability and dedication towards students go hand in hand. Dedication and commitment to shape future generations is the driving force behind Vidyalankar. Vidyalankar started with its founder, Chandrasekhar Sadashiv Deshpande. Born in a small town, Fulton, of Satara district on 19th May 1932. C.S. Deshpande completed his education under extremely difficult financial conditions. C.S. Deshpande went on to complete his inter-science examination in 1950 from Wilton College, Sangli. He not only stood first in inter-science, but also won all the university prizes and scholarships in all the subjects. After completing his BE in Electronics and Telecommunications from the College of Engineering, Pune, he joined the prestigious TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, in 1953 as a research scholar in Nuclear Particle Accelerator section. The research scholar applied himself to the job, but he had always also believed that in order to bring out one's best, one had to be happy in one's job. And Chandrasekhar was not happy at the TIFR. He realized his intrinsic interest was in the field of teaching and writing mathematics. He made yet another attempt in the hope of happiness. He appeared for the All India Engineering Services examination. Surprisingly, he secured the first rank in this All India competitive examination. He was posted in the Indian Railway Service of Engineers as a Class 1 gazetted officer and worked in the railway electrification project at Calcutta for a few years. His restlessness and misery persisted, and he continued to miss his mathematics. He decided to follow his heart. He did take the unconventional decision of resigning from the IRSE to return to Mumbai to start his own academic institute. On the auspicious day of Dasara in October 1960, he made a modest beginning by launching his own AMIE thesis. His philosophy was reflected in choosing the name for his institute, Vidyalankar. Vidyalankar was meant to be a place of learning, when knowledge was considered the sole ornament to adorn or beautify a person. Vidyalankar started functioning in the rented classroom of Shardashram School of Dadar. Finally, in 1974, it arrived at Pearl Center, its present premises in Dadar. Thus, the basic objective of establishing Vidyalankar was neither commercial nor merely to earn a livelihood. The driving force was to satisfy the inner urge of dedicating oneself to academic pursuit. Passion was to guide the eager young students with a missionary zeal. The goal was to enhance their worthiness and imbibe the noble values of life in their receptive minds. Not by merely empty words, but setting one's own example. Facing his dream, C.S. Deshpande was not alone. His wife, Sanjeevani, was there with him all along. He was closely associated with Vidyalankar right from its inception. Vidyalankar was life for Chandrasekhar Deshpande. He was doing what he truly enjoyed. He would himself teach multiple subjects and work 7 days a week without any holidays. He firmly believed in work is worship. In 1992, his son Vishwas joined Vidyalankar. Chandrasekhar and Vishwas worked as a team and strategized the growth plan of Vidyalankar. It was the beautiful partnership between them which put the institute on a dream run, which is going full throttle every day. Every year saw substantial growth. With respect to setting up new centers, appointing qualified personnel, setting up systems, Vidyalankar's journey continued with full steam. From a single classroom setup in 1960, Vidyalankar today runs multiple centers spread across Mumbai and is now expanding to the whole of Maharashtra. With a team to set up one's engineering degree college, Vidyalankar applied to government in 1998. This dream became a reality in 1999. In 2002, 2 more colleges were set up, namely Vidyalankar Polytechnic and Vidyalankar School of Information Technology. In 2003, Vidyalankar started constructing a college building. Vidyalankar wanted to build something remarkable. The college building had to express the will of the institution to progress in a progressive environment and to build a campus that best embodies its cherished values. The growth of Vidyalankar is now being carried forward by the next generation. Vishwas Deshpande and his wife Navrata, sister Vishni, and Avinash all are highly qualified and educated in top schools in India and US. It's a small seed. Vidyalankar has now become a sprawling tree, embracing several generations and putting them on the right path. Students of Vidyalankar have made their mark across the globe. Over the years, Vidyalankar has grown not only in numbers, but also in quality of education. What has remained unchanged are its core values. passion to mold young generation for a better India has become even stronger as the years pass by.
I request Ashish sir to felicitate Shri Prabhakar Devdhar's son, Shri Nishit Devdhar.
No. Thank you. Photo काढा. Photo काढला नाही काढत.
Thank you, sir. Science is the spirit of inquiry, the courage to question, and the discipline to seek truth. Technology is its practical partner, turning ideas into tools, theories into solutions, and discoveries into daily conveniences. Together, they are not just instrument of progress, but also the backbone of national development. Today, when we speak of Digital India, Chandrayaan mission, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and clean energy, we are not just celebrating innovations, but also reaffirming our commitments to building a Vikasit Bharat, a developed India by 2047. This session is an opportunity to reflect on how far we have come, how responsibly we must use these advancements, and follow the path ahead for the next generation of thinkers, innovators, and leaders. Today, we have with us esteemed guest, Shri A.P. Deshpande sir. Deshpande sir studied electrical and mechanical engineering. He has been the honorary secretary of Marathi Vignan Parishad. He was chairman at National Center for Science Communicator for past 15 years and general secretary of International Union for Science Communicator since last 1 year. I request sir to address the gathering and share memories of distinguished Shri Prabhakar Shankar Devdhar, an engineering scientist, industrialist, and national policymaker.
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries on the dais and all the dignified students of this college. The main purpose of taking this particular function in this college is Prabhakar Devdhar was an electronics man of India, and you have electronics courses in this particular college. Prabhakar Devdhar would have been 91 years today. Today is his birthday, 25th of September. He born in 1934, studied in Pune, Nutan Marathi Vidyalaya, and then Ferguson College, and then College of Engineering, Pune. In telecommunication, he studied, and then for a few years he worked in TIFR in the medical instrumentation, and then he established his own company known as AppLab Industries. AppLab is still running, and now Mr. Nishit Devdhar is heading the industry. Mr. Devdhar was not called as industrialist, but he was the scientist. In his life, he developed 640 products, and every product was well sellable. You will be surprised to know. That at the petrol pump, petrol you get and it gets measured. That measuring instrument is made by Mr. Devdhar. Mr. Devdar made the first ATM in India in 1969 for Bank of Maharashtra Dadar. And the specialty of that ATM was that when first time you go to the machine, you get photographed. And so nobody else can operate that particular account in your name. But then unfortunately, this was not accepted by then government, and so it has not come into the being. Printing machine, printing of the passbooks in the bank. Once it so happened that I went to Bank of Baroda and got my passbook printed. And then when that particular book got finished, I had to go back to the bank to get the another blank passbook. So I talked to Mr. Devdar asking that like ATM where you have got the currency notes bunch put in the instrument in the ATM machine, why not the blank passbooks kept in the printing machine? He said, let them ask me. I will provide it. It's not difficult at all. He was so innovative that in the industry, the workers, they're poorly paid anywhere. But then around 15th of every month, they finish their salary paid 15 days before. And then they have to run to their departmental head and the accounts department to get the advance from the next month's salary. So he felt that they should not waste their time in this particular thing. As well, they should not feel ashamed to go and ask for the advance to their officers. So he installed one ATM machine in his industry on which it was written, you can draw your salary anytime. So you withdraw money from your next month's salary and the account goes to the accounts department. Next month, that much amount gets deducted from your salary and then people are happy about it. So these were his so many grand ideas. He exported his products to China, to England and so many other countries. For Government of India also, he did lot of work. You will be surprised, he was a very close friend of Rajiv Gandhi. Whenever Rajiv Gandhi used to have some doubts in electronics, he used to consult Mr. Devdar, he used to visit his factory. And then when Sanjay Gandhi, Rajiv's younger brother, died, he was called to Delhi. And Rajiv Gandhi said that, Mr. Devdar, you stop your work in Thane and you come to Mumbai, Delhi. He said, no, I have my industry, I cannot, but I can come and help you on Saturday, Sundays, and he did that. While doing that, one day where Rajiv and Mr. Devdar were sitting, Indira Gandhi happened to pass through. So Mr. Rajiv Gandhi said to his mother, Indira Gandhi, Mummy, Prabhu Devdar is criticizing your export policy in electronics. He said, what is that? So Mr. Devdar said that whenever you have 1 hour's time, you tell me, I'll come and explain you. So she pulled the teapot from there and sat in front of him and she said that I have time now. You tell me. And so he explained it. Then she said that you write down this policy and send it to me. So Devdar did nothing. He said that these ministers or prime minister, whatever it is, they have got a lot of assurances given to the public, but do nothing. But after 1 month, Gopi Arora, who was the secretary to Indira Gandhi, he telephoned to Mr. Devdar and said that, Mr. Devdar, you assured something to madam. She is waiting for it. So he wrote that policy. This was the matter towards end of 1983. He wrote that, Indira Gandhi read it, and Mr. Devdar had predicted in that in another 6 to 7 years' time, your export in electronics will get 10 times. Indira Gandhi hurriedly got it passed in the parliament because in 1984, by October 30th, she was assassinated. But before that, she did this. She was not there, but Rajiv Gandhi was prime minister, and it happened that 10 times the export increased. So that was his foresight. Then Rajiv Gandhi appointed him as the chairman of the Electronics Commission of India. He worked there. He took only 1 rupee salary and instructed his factory people that during my regime at Delhi, you shall not take any order from Government of India. People should not say that because I am here, Applab is getting the orders and all that. So he was a different kind of person. He wrote many books. He, I think, visited China almost 100 times. So Sina Sthan, was the book that he wrote on China. While he was in Delhi, he was not that happy because these bureaucrats, IS persons, they don't allow others to work peacefully because it's an encroachment on their kingdom. So they took out some powers from him and all that. So he was not happy about that. He wrote poems in Delhi. And you know what is the name that he gave to that book? Capital Punishment. In the capital city, he felt like punishment. So it was a capital punishment. So he wrote many books. During his old age, he wrote so many blogs. Every week, 1 or 2 blogs he used to write. He developed the solar panels also. So many research projects he undertook. He was president of Marathi Vignan Parishad for almost 14 years and he gave new direction to us. He felt that in such institutions, I find that old people like me who have got the brown hair, they only come there. College students should come. So he provided some funds for that and then we do a lot of programs for college students since then. After his presidency in 2014, he became the trustee and until his death 2 years back, he was our trustee. I pay my homage to him and then I felt that while you are going to listen to Mr. Shivanand convey on electronic subject, in the name of Mr. Devdar, you should know who was Mr. Devdar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for wonderful memories of Shri Prabhakar Devdhar, sir. Now I invite Ashish, sir, to kindly address the crowd.
Thank you, Shilpa Madam. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Vidyalankar Polytechnic, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all to this special session, as been mentioned, the Prabhakar Devdar Memorial Lecture Series, organized in association with the National Center for Science Communicators. Especially, I thank Shri Suhas Naik Satam, sir, Chief Executive of NCSE, for giving us an opportunity to organize this prestigious event in association with them. Shri Siddhi Vinayak Barve, sir, the General Secretary of NCSE, Shri A.P. Deshpande, former Chairman of NCSE, for gracing this occasion. I extend my warm welcome to Shri Kanavi, sir, and thank him for accepting the invitation to deliver today's lecture. To my faculty colleagues, students, those who have joined today, thank you to your presence here for making this event meaningful. Sir, Vidyalankar is truly blessed when it comes to the dignitaries and personalities who have been visiting our campus. We are truly lucky about it. And guiding us with their immense knowledge and wisdom. In this very auditorium, we have had the privilege of listening to Sri Jayant Naralikar, Sri Raghunath Mashelkar ji, Deepak Phatak sir, Anil Kakodkar sir, and many more. In continuation with that legacy, today we are truly honored to hold this lecture series in association with NCSE as a tribute to the vision and values of late Shri Prabhakar Devdar, whose life and work continue to inspire generations in the field of science, technology, and education. Deshpande sir has already given a lot of insights, information about life of Shri Devdar. But from a user's perspective, sir, when we did our engineering long back, 40 years back, and the students who are right now in front of us, no electronics lab is without app lab equipment. Everywhere you will find testing and measuring equipment made by app lab, power supplies made by app lab. There are competitions from Chinese products. But when it comes to quality, high power devices, still we don't look anywhere else but Apple. So as Deshpande sir has said, about 600 plus products in the career span is a remarkable achievement in those times. Please note, there was nothing like Google Guru at that time. You have to do your own experimentation. A lot of resources required. And while running a industry, having, shouldered responsibilities of so many employees to come out with new products and make it marketable in different situations, that was called a license Raj. Not a single chip could be imported. In such scenarios, Devdar sir had all these products developed, and he was mentioning about ATM and BTM. Sir, I was briefly involved in that installation of ATM and BTM way back in 1992-93 in connection with Bank of Maharashtra setting up the ATM BTM. And we really were surprised as a student from just passed out from electronics branch. How can a machine read from a card and count the notes? And that was the pioneering effort which Devdar sir had established. And again, with the connection with today's environment, the atmosphere that we are seeing about, on one side, we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, made in India products, importance of product development as compared to providing services is more and more getting significant. Last week, से आपने देखा होगा, somebody sitting in US is trying to hold our collar, saying that you cannot come. You cannot come. Or if you come, you cannot go. Why it is happening? Because 80% of the manpower who has gone there are doing services job. And mind you, they are not dependent about, dependent about the product level designs beyond certain limit. Therefore, people are trying to, activate these arm twisting tactics. So in such scenario, about 40 years back, Devdar sir saw through this scene and has always encouraged development of product. Sir, in our institute also, we give a lot of efforts. The students also take a lot of efforts, faculty, to have some idea getting innovated, as we have seen some workshop outside. So our students, we want them to, listen to such visionaries and, get inspired from them, so that they don't become a service person only. They think about solutions, products, and so on. So in this connection, we are truly honored to have with us distinguished speaker, Sri Shivanand Kanavi, who is a noted science writer. He has authored the acclaimed book, Sand to Silicon. So those who are in electronics can understand what it means, which traces the evolution of digital innovations in India and highlights contributions of Indian scientists and engineers. Given his rich experience at the intersection of science and technology and industry, I feel that today's lecture will be really enlightening, thought-provoking, and deeply relevant to our students and faculty alike. So once again, welcome to all. May this lecture spark new thoughts, questions, and energy in pursuit of knowledge. Thank you. I now invite Shilpa ma'am to take it forward.
Thank you, sir, for your warm and thoughtful words of welcome. At this moment, we are honored to have Shri Suhas Naik Satam, sir, with us. Sir is an astronomy and space science educator and dedicated science communicator with over 4 decades of experience. He currently serves as the chief executive of the National Center for Science Communicator and was formerly the program coordinator at Nehru Planetarium, where he worked for several decades. May I request Shri Suhas Naik Satam, sir, to grace the stage and extend a warm welcome to all our dignitaries and guests through introductory address.
God. Good afternoon. Yeah, Jay. Friends, good afternoon, everybody. Are you with me today? Are you sure? Okay. So let's start our journey in that. At the outset, on the behalf of National Center for Science Communicator, I extend a warm welcome to you. And yes, we are assembled here for the very, very important event as far as the National Center for Science Communicator is concerned. The event is the first Prabhakar Devdar Memorial Lecture. In fact, this year is something I should not discuss about it. In fact, we have to, we at the National Center for Science Communicators are engaged in organizing the seminars, workshop, colloquium, public lectures. But this year is something different for us because this year we lost 5 our advisors. Starting with in month of January, we had Dr. Chidambaram, okay, not that Chidambaram, okay, R. Chidambaram. Then we lost Dr. Nalikar, Dr. M.R. Srinivasan, and lately Dr. Ghosh was Director General for the NCSM. Friends, may I request A.P. Deshpande to formally extend a warm welcome with a fruit basket to the principal of this college, in fact. You might be wondering, in fact, Yeah. No, very simple, in fact, but interacting with the principal is a very, very fruitful event, in fact, for me. So I decided to, in fact, reciprocate by giving the fruit, basket of fruit, in fact, and my organization is 30 years old. So you start yielding more fruits, in fact, And friends, as an anticipated kind of thing, and should I mention over here that I know Prabhakar Devdar the last 30 years, in fact. I met him in 1995, okay? And I think sir is already disclosed his age. And today is 25th September. Anybody's birthday? No? So he's a unique person. Okay? Sir is a unique person. But sir is always cannot be unique as far as the science technology is concerned. Today is very, very important. Distinguished a pioneer in space. Anybody knows? अरे गूगल करो यार हाँ कौन गगनयान का बर्थडे नहीं हो सकता है वो सेलिब्रेट करना पड़ता है टुडे इज अ बर्थडे ऑफ very, very second chairman of Indian Space Research Organization, Professor Satish Dhawan. Okay, he would have been there, then he would have definitely completed 105 years, in fact, So friends, when you talk about memorial lectures, where we stand, okay, and well, this particular very, very fascinating venue, And those who are, in person, and those who are, like in and out kind of things, I extend the warm welcome to them also. When you talk about the contributions of industrialist and technological journey, we remind that truly pioneer are those who are not only achieve excellence for themselves, but also create a pathway for others to follow. And Professor Devdar was one of the such pioneers who believed that technology must serve the society and empower the common citizen. It is therefore the most fitting that today's memorial lectures will be delivered by Shivanand Kanavi. I happen to know him for the last 30 years. Okay, there is some kind of similarity in fact. And well, the same thing happened to Shivanand and same thing happened to Dr. Prabhakar Devdar. Whenever there is a conference of National Center for Science Communicator and wanted to have a speaker who can talk about policy, we can think of only Devdar sir. Okay. And during the COVID time, you won't believe. Where were you? Yeah, you were always online kind of thing in fact. And we organized a lecture series offline at the Vasai College. And I requested, sir, is that possible to deliver the lecture at the Vasai College? And without any ado, he said, yes, I'm coming there. And well, those who have seen his photograph or those who have experienced him, his towering personality, in fact, मैं उनके सामने वो अफजल खान और वैसा था मैंने. You can get yourself caught that way, in fact. And as far as Shivanand's credential goes, is a science journalist, editor, and the vice president of TCS. He teaches at the NIS, Bengaluru. His NIS between technology, industry, and society has enriched public discourse and decade. Why I'm mentioning to him because in 2000, he traveled to US, came back with a bag full of electronic things, in fact. He had a privilege to talk to the people who made some kind of dent in Silicon Valley. And he brought out the publication called Science to Silicon. Those who want to have the copy, please raise your hand and give your email ID. I'll see to you that with his permission, the PDF will be forwarded to you. Okay. And well, may I request Barvesh sir, please do the honor of our son's son sitting over there to have a fruitful basket in fact. Oh. I think he should remember his fruitful journey over here. In fact, that's the reason we are. Sure. Yeah. In fact, if you discuss about today's present situation is rapidly evolving, where artificial intelligence, biotechnology, digital ecosystems are the refreshing economics. We must ask ourselves, are we using the technology to reduce the division or to deepen themselves? Are the building these tools empower the communities or ones that isolate them? Are these kind of questions that leader like Devdar asks us to confront with the courage and responsibility? I take this moment to thank Vidyalankar Institute of Technology for hosting this lecture and to congratulate them for sustaining tradition of dialogue that bridges academia, industry, and society. My gratitude also goes to organizing team who had worked tirelessly to keep alive this memory of visionary leader through this meaningful platform. I can definitely go on. Finally, I encourage our students and young professionals present here to absorb the wisdom of today's speaker and to carry forward the legacy of service through the society, science and society, and technology. After all, this best tribute we can pay to Sri Prabhakar Devdar is to ensure innovation remains inseparably linked with the social good. Friends, with this, I must thank you. Before thanking you all, I just wanted to ask simple question. Anybody knows what is on which principle the film industry runs? शाहरुख खान को जानते हो कि नहीं? Which principle is that? विद्या बालन को जानते हो? हाँ, सब जानते हो. The principle, if you have seen the Vidya Balan film, the principle lies is entertainment, entertainment, and entertainment. If the science and technology, this industry has to run, on which principle they will run? That's right. Innovations, innovation, innovation. So thank you so much for your patient listening. Thank you so much, in fact.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words of welcome. Now, I would like to call upon Shri Siddhivinayak Barve, sir. Sir has had a distinguished academic and research career, a gold medalist and topper in the MSc examination at the University of Mumbai. Currently, he serves as Director of Kelkar Education Trust's Scientific Research Center and as a professor and head of the Department of Botany and Biotechnology at VG Vaze College, Mumbai. He also played a pivotal role in the design and development of the UGC Center of Potential for Excellence in Biotechnology. I request Sir to kindly introduce our esteemed guest speaker to the gathering.
And all, I am indeed very proud and pleased to stand before you on the occasion of first P.S. Devdar Memorial Lecture. Before introducing today's esteemed speaker, I would like to tell something about Prabhakar Devdar sir with a grand association, whom I know since my childhood. As a mentor, he was a towering personality, as Suhas was mentioning. He was innovation personified with piercing gaze, blue eyes, towering personality with beige color coat. He used to really talk all the time about innovation and how it can be used for the betterment of the mankind. Apa Deshpande sir has mentioned something to you, but I would like to tell something. Before even something of those innovations were in this world, P.S. Devdar sir had it all. He was chairman of Electronic Commission of India. And now what we see is the world and India is really doing marvelously well in electronics. He has done tremendous thing in developing black and white television, which come to us. He was instrumental in developing color television sets in India and bringing this entire electronic technology, electronic media for the masses. About this, nowadays, people are talking about AI. You are even scolded by your parents about WhatsApp usage. He has written one book, and that book was Third Parent, about talking about the effects, good or bad, of the electronic media, and that to the idiot box. So this was a fantastic kind of a thing that P.S. Devdar was such a grand mixture of ethical entrepreneur, a man who was very upright, who fought corruption, who actually led innovation in every aspect, whatever he did. ATM was there, the first ATM developed, innovated, but he was the one who developed PCs on one side, personal computers which are there in front of us, but he was really a great man who developed something which we call smart card phones, the phones that we are carrying. This is what we say is the development of recent past, like last 20 years. He developed in 83, 85. There were 3,000 such phones established in Delhi circle, but people that time, they couldn't even understand what that technology might have in future. Most of the time, I'm absolutely junior to him, but he was a friend of our trustee, Bhausab Kelkar. I would see him since my childhood in our college, interact with him. Whenever we used to meet, whenever I used to meet him, he would ask me in his commanding voice, what is going on? What is going on means, what are you doing? And then he would even encourage all the time. For the smart card phones, for the PC, for the electronic media, for the ATM, I used to call him Steve Jobs of India. Believe me, he was 10 times ahead of Steve Jobs, which really did the miracle. And then one sentence that he used to tell, India can pull out any technology what Westerners can achieve. And believe me, that he did. Sir was mentioning about oscilloscope, rheostat, and all the machines. Those machines were installed in the colleges for 25 years, 30 years, nothing happens to them. And today we have another kind of a speaker who will be talking about, can we really develop this technology for India and for the world? Yes, sir. The stage is right set. Principal Ashish sir was mentioning, there are moratorium, there are some kind of sanctions on our entry to US. This is the challenge. This is the mauka that we can really do that. And if at all we develop a technology, the transcender, the kind of people who can translate this are people like Shivanand Kanavi. He is the man who was Vice President Strategic Innovations and R&D, disruptive technology, and he developed several of that he was VP of Tata Consultancy Services. He was basically a particle physicist, theoretical physicist from Northeastern Boston, and then from IIT Kanpur, a man with accomplished academic kind of record. He was a teacher in IIT in Mumbai University, and even Northeastern University in Boston. So man with such a kind of profound, such a kind of broad spectrum of a career. Beyond that, he was an economic consultant. And beyond that, he was an editor of Business India. The pinnacular success of his career is a book translating and even chronicle of what we call it as the technological development in digital India, what has happened. And sir, here I want to listen, all of us, from you, that can we really develop this technology? If it was somebody doesn't allow us to come to their country, and can we have that power? And believe me, Prabhakar Devdas sir used to believe that, yes, we can pull off that technology. Here is a man who has that sand to silicon kind of a thing. Every other thing that has gone in building digital world, digital technology, and Indian contribution is mentioned. Suhas sir will be even giving you a PDF, and then go through that. This is what is a great occasion on which we are celebrating. We are on the first memorial lecture of PS Devdas sir, which is a grand kind of treat for us. We have to listen from none other than the master in technology innovation about changing the technology scenario in India. I am proud to invite Shivanand Kanavi sir to talk to us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, children. I'm going to say the reason is my grandson is also in third year BTech. Okay, so for me, you're all like my grandchildren, not even children. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank two institutions for making my presence here possible. One is the National Center for Science Communicators, and I want to thank my friend Suhas, Dr. Barve, Anant Deshpande ji for giving me this honor to deliver the first memorial lecture for P.S. Devdar ji. And I want to thank Dr. Ashish and Vidyalankar Institution, all the faculty and the trustees for hosting this kind of interaction with future of Indian technology. Because future of Indian technology, see, I'm a reporter, historian, okay, and you can say to some extent scientist and so on, practitioner in the IT industry, but that's all past, right? You are the future. So what we are, you already heard enough about Devdar ji. Actually, I want to just say a couple of things about Devdar ji. Unfortunately, we never met physically. And the first time I heard about Devdar ji was way back in 1977-78. When I mean, for various reasons, actually from intense concentration on particle physics and theoretical physics in the US, after topping all my PhD qualifying exams and all that, I dropped my PhD and came back to India in 77 because of the emergency. Because I engaged myself for 1.5 years during emergency, along with a lot of others in the US, to create awareness about what is happening in India among Indian students and faculty in the entire Northeast area, every single, and even West Coast, every single university campus were traveling and talking to people, organizing small meetings and all that. Then I said, enough, I want to go back to India. So I came back to India, and a couple of my friends also came back to India, more or less similarly motivated that they had also dropped their PhDs and had come back to. One was from Cornell and other was from Carnegie Mellon. Both were Indians. And the first job they went is they joined App Labs. That's the first time I heard about App Labs. I said, what is this App Labs where they're joining somewhere in Thane, Wagle Estate. Those days, Wagle Estate was considered as a small scale industry unit. And in the 70s, Bombay was full of manufacturing industry. Today, you hardly see anything. All you see is services. And, there are 2.5 lakh workers working in the textile mills. There are about 2 lakh workers in the Bombay docks. There was the entire engineering industry all the way from Vikhroli, Ghatkopar, all the way to Mulund, the entire Sakinaka area, Morol area. Everything was full of manufacturing, small, big, medium, etc. Pharmaceuticals, engineering, auto manufacturers. After all, Premier, now all you see is some commercial buildings and residences there in Kurla was the one, which had given Padmini car, right? And then they're trying to get into some things with, there was Mukund, there was Kamani, the whole Kurla, everything, Kalina, everything was full of manufacturing. Today, you don't see anything. All you see is IT services, some services related to telecom, some maybe a little bit of diamond trade. There used to be diamond polishing also earlier in the at least western suburbs. I think a lot of it has gone to Gujarat now. I'm not very sure because I also moved out of Mumbai about 11 years ago after my retirement from TCS. So I'm not aware of every time I come to Mumbai, something new seems to be happening. So in that situation, in this small company in Thane, 2 of my classmates who had come from the top institutions in the US and they were all electronics engineers, they had joined App Labs. So that is the first time I heard about App Labs. And then later, just about 10-15 years ago, Mr. Devdar, I think, had read my book or something like that. When I was in TCS, he sent me a mail and then we exchanged some mails. I don't remember whether I was in Delhi office at that time or Bombay. And then much later, around 2013, just when I was about to retire or just retired, he sent me something about his book on China. again, I said something to him and on the phone, I think it was, and then he talked to me about China on the phone. And then I sent him an article I had written after interviewing a China expert on the history of India-China relations over 2000 years. Okay, that is it. That's all I knew about Mr. Devda. And then, I mean, in terms of personal contact, but when I was asked to, Suhas actually about 3 months back told me that I should be ready to give a lecture in the memory of Mr. Devdar. Somewhere in May or June, he told me, and it had skipped my mind. And just about a week back, he reminded me that, 25th September is going to be your talk. And so I had to quickly read up as much as possible about Mr. Devdar. And luckily, what I advise you, how many of you are on LinkedIn? That's pretty good. Okay, very good. Then, if you want to know about Mr. Devdar's professional contribution, go to LinkedIn. His page is still there. And his entire educational experience, his books, some of his posts you will find also, because he used to post a lot of his writings on LinkedIn, and a list of his innovations, fairly comprehensive list of his innovations. Okay, are listed there, and so on. Okay, so I'll, rather than repeating all that, I'll suggest that you go to LinkedIn and look up his page. Now, briefly, you already heard enough about Mr. Devdar from people who have been close to him, who knew him personally and professionally. So I'm not going to, I know as much about him as all you people, because I learned a lot from all these people. And we have the privilege of having Nishitji here. And in fact, I was asking Suhas before I came to the meeting, will there be somebody here from Devdar family? He was not sure. So it's a really welcome thing. And so if you just want to briefly condense his very briefly, his professional contributions, AppLab from 1962 to 2012, 50 years almost, right? Then Electronic Commission, he was the head of the Electronic Commission. At that time, Electronic Commission decided all electronic policy. Okay, so not like now, not necessarily. Today, MeitY is not deciding what is going on in the electronic industry. Some things it sets some policy, and rest is depends on the investors and the people who are ready to bring in manufacturing or services or whatever it is. Okay. So 85 to 89, he was the head of the Electronic Commission. That was the apex electronic body at that time. And also IT. That time, there was no separate, neither IT ministry or IT department. So Electronics Commission handled both. Then there was broadcast. He became a member of the Broadcast Council afterwards in 92 to 93. And this was looking into how to bring in reforms into our broadcast services. At that time, you won't know that there was only Akashvani, radio, and Doordarshan. So part of his recommendations was, how do you also bring in, besides doing a public broadcast? See, there is something called public broadcasting. That means it is not doing it for profit. It is doing it to educate the public. That is called public broadcasting. And Doordarshan was like that. Okay. And similarly, BBC is supposed to be a public broadcaster. It is supported, funded directly, indirectly by the government, but it is supposed to remain independent. But most of the time, these public broadcasters become wings, propaganda wings of the whichever government is in power. Okay, that is the fate of most public broadcasters. So everybody was looking for an alternative, some private initiatives in broadcasting. At that time, the Broadcast Council recommended several things that resulted in the metro channels, and later, of course, satellite TV came in, and many, private channels came in, and so on and so forth. Okay, that happened much later. But his work in Broadcast Council, was responsible in a sense, was a harbinger of this liberalization in broadcast policy. Then his association with Marathi Vigyan Parishad, you already heard from so many people associated with the Vigyan Parishad itself from 99 to 2014. Then he also was very keenly observing what was happening in China and how China is progressing. So in 2004, he became the chairman of this India-China Economic and Cultural Council. Now, unfortunately, I don't know till when he handled it because that is not clear in the LinkedIn. So I assume that at least for a decade or more, he was the chairman. And he observed China carefully, what is the developments that are happening there, what we can learn from it, what we can gain from it, and what we should avoid, etc. And the result of that was one of his books. Already it has been mentioned that he wrote 3 books. One in 93, which Deshpande ji mentioned, Capital Punishment. That is, he basically recounted his experience in the government when he was stationed in the capital. Now, capital punishment, if you know, what does that mean? What is capital punishment? Fasi. That is called capital punishment. Okay. So it's a pun. He played on that because he was stationed in the capital, Delhi. He called it capital punishment. Punishment for being in the capital is one meaning. Capital punishment is also Fasi. Okay. So anyway, so that is a wordplay he did and described his experience in the government in 93. Then about his broadcast experience and reforms and broadcast, he described it in his second book in 95 called Third Parent. And then finally in 2013, he wrote Sina Sthana. Okay. Sina, China is, it appears in even in our classics. Apparently, there is a mention of Chinambara in Mahabharata also. Okay. One of my friends who studied Chinese language and Chinese history told me that. So Chinambara, probably it meant some associated with something made of silk and probably Chinese silk. Okay. Because recently I discovered, in fact, from Chinese sources, that there are non-Chinese silks also which existed in India. And apparently they have found even some traces of that even in the relics of the Harappan culture. So there are Mulberry, they are called Mulberry-based silk, which we normally call sericulture, etc. That came from China. That came to India, to China. And in fact, Tipu Sultan had an embassy with Chinese emperor, and he brought in that sericulture, Chinese sericulture to Mysore, and that's why Mysore silk became famous. Okay. So China, through various routes, Chinese silk culture came to India. But apparently, before the Chinese silk culture came to India, there are other forms of silk, some wood silks and all that they're called. And this I got from the Chinese artificial intelligence called DeepSeek. Okay, I asked it for history of silk in India, and it told me about Indian silks which predate the Chinese silk. Okay, so anyway, so China Sthana is a reference to that ancient concept of China, etc. Sthana, you know Sthana, what it means, Stan or Sthana. And then, interestingly, he wrote 4-part autobiographical articles called Problems of Being an Indian Entrepreneur. And you should read them. They are available on the net. They were published by a magazine which is brought out by 2 very well-known journalists, Debashish Basu and Sucheta Dalal, called Money Life. And he was a regular contributor to Money Life, his columns. So Money Life published his autobiographical 4-part thing also. And then in terms of his innovations, people have already talked about his, most of it is in power electronics and some in telecommunication, but particularly mention is made about ATM, an Indian ATM, and even the concept of a smart card. Because if you know what is a smart card, all of you are carrying it, whether you're carrying a credit card, a debit card, or a driver's license, right? Or even to an extent your FASTag if you have a vehicle, right? Aadhaar is not a smart card, by the way. Aadhaar doesn't have a chip. Okay, smart cards have chip in which a lot of your details are in that card. And they can be read through certain specialized readers. And some remotely, some you'll have to pass through certain machines. Remotely, what is called RFID, radio frequency identification tags and all that. So easy FASTag is one of them. So there are many radio frequency type of smart cards also. Okay. So in that, he was a pioneer. So not only he designed, we talk about, it is mentioned in his bio that he designed this smart card enabled telephone. Now all this will appear nothing big to you, right? Because you haven't even seen a telephone. Have you seen a telephone? When I talk about digital revolution, and I have given lectures on digital revolution literally all over India in most of the IITs and BITS Pilani and everywhere else and many other universities and colleges, and how it has evolved and what have been the major players and all that. Most of the people have blank looks on them because they are students who have never seen that revolution. They have lived after the revolution. Okay? Because to understand a revolution, you have to understand what was before, what was during, and what was after. But you have never seen the before and after. To make a trunk call, when I went to US, to make a call to US, I had to go to the Central Telegraph Office, book a call, wait 2-3 hours, so-called lightning call. Okay, and 3 minutes के लिए 160 रुपए लगता था उन दिनों में. And that means, and again, half the time anybody you're calling in the US will say, oh, are you, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And the operator will say, sir, your time khatam ho raha hai. Okay. All this will look strange to you because you've never seen even a telephone. Forget about going to post office to book a call. You are lived in the era of WhatsApp calls, which cost you nothing, which allows you video calls, right? Email to bhi purana ho gaya. Abhi it's all, everything is on WhatsApp, right? For us, email was a big revolution in 93. In fact, my company where I was working at that time, Business India, was a pioneer, provided the first called Access Email Services. BI, they set up a Access Email. It used to carry text, by the way. There was nothing called the web. And the web came much later when VSNL brought the web, 94, 95. After that, again, you had a modem whose speed was 2.4 kilobytes. And when I got a 9.6 kilobytes speed, I was thrilled. And my company had given it to me to use it at home, because as a journalist, I had to file stories and so on. And after filing a story through that, we are not sure whether it has reached there or not. There were still some machines which you don't know called fax machines, in which we had to feed that printed article. And then the other fellow will say, from Delhi bureau will say, "Arey yaar, wo theek se nahi hai, wo smudging ho raha hai. Wapis bhejo." So in the name of, we installed all this to reduce our telephone bills, okay? Because telephone bills were very high. So STD call come karne ke liye, we were using fax and email. Instead, what used to happen is we'll send an email, then we'll fax it. Then when he says fax is much, that we used to call him also on STD. Okay. So this is the age we have lived through. Not only the 70s when we had to book a call, to this transition period. And today you guys are sitting in mobile phone. And when I had to go to IIT Kanpur, and I come from a small town in Karnataka called Dharwad, I had to change my train 4 places: Dharwad to Miraj, Miraj to Mumbai, Mumbai to Jhansi, and Jhansi to Kanpur. And I used to get at the most, if I book about 10 to 15 days in advance, Dharwad to Miraj, that's it. The rest of it, Ram Bharose. मिल गया तो मिल गया, टीसी को पैसा दे दो, टीसी का कृपा से कुछ मिल गया तो बहुत हो गया. Okay. Otherwise, you travel, and literally Mumbai VT, I have to come 3-4 hours in advance, catch the train in the yard in unreserved compartment, towel bicha ke jate the hum, wo seat rakh ke, we used to go to Kanpur. Today you sit with IRCTC website in your mobile phone and you book, right? You book all your weather, and you go to Make My Trip or something, or any website of the airline, and book a air ticket, and so on and so forth. So all these things for you, that's why it becomes, to explain something called a revolution doesn't make any sense to you. You may be talking about whether ChatGPT is better or DeepSeek is better. right? So I'll tell you my own experience later about ChatGPT and DeepSeek. But basically, those days were very different. The days when people like Mr. Devdar showed the guts to say that I will make electronic design here. I'll make electronic systems here. Were very different. Because you couldn't, though electronics was still young, internationally it was young. It is not that only India it was, new. Internationally it was new. So even in America, they were using the same telephones, and digitization had not yet occurred. Everything was analog and so on. But on top of it, India did not have dollars. You could not import anything. So people say, I could not import, Narayan Murthy will complain, I could not import a computer, so how can I export all that? I had to go to the ministry and run around this, that. Forget Narayan Murthy. 20 years before that, Mr. Kohli used to tell me in the 1960s what all he had to do to get a computer for Tata Consultancy Services. Because Tata Consultancy Services, interestingly, is one of the oldest IT companies in the world. When Tata Consultancy Services was set up by JRD Tata, and he gave the charge to Mr. Kohli to build it up, Nani Palkewala and JRD Tata, they were the two. Nani Palkewala became the chairman of TCS, and JRD Tata was chairman of Tata Group, and they handed over the responsibility to FC Kohli. At that time, there was no Microsoft, no Google, no SAP, no Sun Microsystems. Okay, HP. Today, HP is a big computer company, right? That time, HP was making what AppLab also used to make. That is oscilloscopes and signal generators. It was not a computer company. There are hardly a couple of companies which are making big mainframe computers. There was IBM, and there was another which also came up around the same time, Digital and Burroughs. Now, Digital and Burroughs don't exist. IBM still exists, right? At that time, Intel wasn't there. Microsoft wasn't there, but TCS came into being in 1968, April 1st. Okay, so it was a pioneering company, not only in IT services, okay, but at that time, Narayan Murthy was still studying for his MTech in IIT Kanpur. Okay, when this thing came in. So, those days, challenges were different. And in 1966, Indian government was forced to devalue rupee. From 5 rupees a dollar, it became 7.5, 8 rupees a dollar. That was more than 50% devaluation. Okay. So whole economy was in topsy-turvy. So there were no foreign exchange to import anything. So at that time, the whole concentration and a challenge to people like Mr. Devdar was, when we cannot import, but we still want modern technology, let's build it ourselves. Can we build it from first principles? Can we even make the components? Or can we, if not, then let's get the components, but let's build the systems here and so on and so forth. So that was their guts. And in Hindi or Marathi, you say chal. Okay. That stubbornly saying that I'm going to do this, a challenge. So with that, they built various things. Okay. So they belong to a different period. The challenges of 60s and 70s were different. Challenges of 90s when the whole world economy went upside down and liberalization started in UK under Margaret Thatcher, in US under Reagan, in Russia, in the Soviet Union under Gorbachev, and in India to some extent under Rajiv Gandhi, and in China it started with Deng Xiaoping. So there was a worldwide wave of liberalization, worldwide wave of looking at economy in a different way, new way. So at that time, challenges were different. And his days with Rajiv Gandhi were those transitional period. His challenges in 60s and 70s were different. And challenges today are very different. Okay. Today, do you know what is the in those days, General Motors, Ford, all these companies they were called running America. In fact, there is a famous quote by American president: "What is good for General Motors is good for America." Today, where is General Motors? General Motors was replaced by as number one company by Toyota 30 years ago, 25 years ago. But today, where is Toyota even? BYD, an electric vehicle maker from China, and Tesla, they are ruling there. You look at their market capitalization. Not only that, which is the most valuable company in the world today? Do you know? Anybody has any clue? It's an electronics company. Madam said NVIDIA. And you know what is NVIDIA's market capitalization? More than entire India's GDP. Today's market capitalization of NVIDIA is $4.3 trillion. We are still wondering whether we have reached 4 trillion or not, because every time rupee devaluates, our actual value in dollar terms comes down. Okay, only in rupee terms it goes up. So we are not sure whether we have reached 4 trillion, crossed through 4 trillion or not, and how long we'll stay there also. Because if the rupee, which is 88 rupees per dollar, comes down to 90 rupees per dollar or goes down to 100 rupees a dollar, all the increments we are making 6%, 8%, even 10% will get, neutralized by just the devaluation of the rupee versus dollar. So in such a situation, one electronics chip company has more wealth, more market capital than the entire GDP of 1.5 billion people. And today, look at the pride Mr. Devdar and people like him had for building things on their own, for manufacturing and all that. Okay, it's all right. I mean, Mr. Devdar may not have become a billionaire, but he had the pride of building so many people and so many products for India. He says it also. Money was not my goal and so on. You read his autobiographical things, right? Challenges, technology challenges where is what gave him a kick, right? At the same time, it was a sustainable business. It's not that it was a charity. It was a profitable business. So many people worked on it. So many people had livelihood, and they did important work for defense, for the government, and even private sector and so on. But today, where are we? We are very happy that we have become the largest producer of Apple phones, iPhone, right? iPhone, hamara kitna, matlab, so many million iPhones were made last year and exported to America. And unfortunately, Mr. Trump is telling Apple, stop all that, make it in America. Why are you making it in India, in Chennai or Bengaluru or here and there, right? So even that, what we are very happy about, can go anytime or reduce anytime or slow down anytime, right? But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what is the value we are contributing to iPhone 16 or iPhone 17. Do you know that? Apple has a market capitalization of $3.3 trillion. Almost the level of India GDP. Okay, what does Apple do? Apple designs. Apple designs its product, its chips, its software, everything, right? It has an intellectual property of that. Then it gets the chips made by big companies like TSMC. It is the biggest and most advanced chip company in the world is Taiwan Semiconductors, TSMC. What is the value of Taiwan Semiconductors? 1/5 of Apple. That is $600 to $700 billion. And after those chipsets are made, and with so many other things, right? You know what a phone has. Phone has so many components, right? Including a camera, this, that, and so many other things. And even a aluminum casing and a plastic casing and all that, right? वो सब assemble कौन करता है? Another Taiwanese company called Foxconn. Foxconn is the biggest producer of the iPhone, assembler of iPhones. Apple designs it. TSMC and other chip companies make the chipsets. Foxconn assembles. What is Foxconn's value in the world? 1/6 of TSMC. That means $50 billion. Okay. And in that $50 billion, some part is coming to
We shall now play our national song. Please stand in the honor of the national song. थोड्याच वेळात राष्ट्रीय गीत सुरू होईल. राष्ट्रीय गीताच्या सन्मानात आम्ही येणार आहोत.
Thank you. So I was talking about assembly, design, chips, and assembly. And assembly, you know, people used to call it screwdriver technology. But today, screwdrivers are not used. Robots are used. So even in the iPhone assembly plant, it is automation and robots which are being used. The people who are there, that's why it is not, even though we are saying 4 lakh people, 5 lakh people have got jobs in assembly jobs in electronics, whether in Tata Electronics or in Foxconn or Wistron and all these other assembly companies in Tamil Nadu and in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. We are very happy that 4 lakh people have got jobs. Those jobs are not like actually manual jobs. They are actually supervising, and they are highly, even that is highly skilled now. Everything is automated. Robots are doing it, automated assembly lines are doing various things. You might have to do some testing and, some very little of manual handling of anything is there. And what is the value addition? 5 to 6%. We are very happy. We are being very happy for adding 5 to 6% and saying that we are making iPhones. Imagine Foxconn is the owner, is the real big data in assembly. It starts some plants here, and we are very happy. And of course, Tata has also got in. The first Indian company was got in, are investing and trying to build the whole chain from chip making, chip design, chip making to assembly and various things. Okay, but it is going to take time. It might take 5 years, 10 years. It's not easy that these industries come up just in them. And these are very high-tech industries. High-tech industry means what? I remember when 30 years ago, when I went to Tata Chemicals in Mithapur, they had a small by today's standard. At that time, it was a big enough 500,000 ton cement plant. And in the entire cement plant, I saw 30, 40 people working just to remove the bags of cement. Everything else was computerized, and it was called distributed control system sitting in the control room. Everything. Entire process of cement making was being controlled by a dozen people sitting in the computerized control room. This is in 1994 I'm talking. So when we talk about even manufacturing is not like, some manual job anymore. It's very highly skilled, what you today call smart manufacturing. Okay, so where a lot of technology is involved at every stage. So you are the people who are going to build, who are going to become part of this smart manufacturing and smart support systems for that. Because if everything is computerized, obviously cybersecurity is important, IT systems are important, data sets are important, communication links are important. Everything is, right? All these things are important. So you're all going to be part of this new kind of manufacturing and new kind of even construction today. As earlier when today what we call Narega was started formally in Maharashtra. It is a product of Maharashtra's officers' ingenuity that in 1966-67, when there was a severe drought all over India, especially Bihar and Maharashtra, Maharashtra started it as food for work program. Okay, that people who are rurally unemployed will get some, they'll get food just because they're working. And what was the working? Pattar fodna. Pattar fodna. Just making khadi out of stones, hitting with hammer. That was what was called construction work. Today, I've seen 20 years back, Swedish companies coming to New Bombay, setting up plants to create sand. Okay. They said river sands, ocean sands are not available. They are not sustainable. Plus they have calcium or things like that, which will create pores later. So we're going to crush a stone in a highly automated atmosphere and create today what we call crushed stone cement, sand. And today most of the construction is going on with that. So it's not even that वो job भी अभी नहीं है. हथौड़ा लेके मार के हम ये सैंड बनाएंगे, वो भी नहीं है. Everything is now mechanical, automated. So where intelligence is required, education is required, training is required, skills are required. Okay. So anyway, this is my preamble has become too much. Now let me get into what is my credibility. Like when somebody comes to tell you something, okay, you have to ask, who are you? Why should you listen to you? So let me tell on what basis I'm saying what I'm saying. You should ask anybody who comes, because we have had this habit that, oh, somebody uska bahut naam hai. So and so is a big businessman. So that means maybe he's a successful businessman. He knows something about his business. Doesn't mean he knows. He will give his line on history, economics, on anything under the sun. You think just because he's successful somewhere that he's the fountain of knowledge for everything. Don't do that. This kind of understanding that somebody is successful somewhere will know everything. If you are going to go and ask Sachin Tendulkar whether a vaccine is good or not, what will he know? He can tell you how to play Shoaib Akhtar, right? How to hit a sixer for Shoaib Akhtar. But he can't tell you whether a vaccine is good or not, or what he should do for COVID or something like that, right? So you have to you will have to take people who are telling you something. You should also check their credentials. This critical thinking is what we need. Don't accept anything just because, somebody, so-called educated, somebody who has some reputation comes and tells you something. Maybe he has learned it from WhatsApp University, or maybe he has watched some podcasts here and there and some YouTube, or maybe he has asked ChatGPT and made his PPT, right? GPT makes PPT nowadays. You don't even have to make your own slides, right? So let me tell you on what basis I'm saying what I'm saying. This is, we spent, when I was working in Business India, in 99, 2000, if you remember, when the first internet boom happened, then suddenly there was a news that 3-4 Indians के बारे में नाम था. One Vinod Khosla, one Kanwal Rekhi, one Sabir Bhatia who had just sold Hotmail, and 3-4 people in the Silicon Valley. So Fortune magazine, which is one of the major business magazines in the world, wrote one small report saying that Indian mafia in Silicon Valley. Okay. Now some people might feel happy about it. Oh, Indians are in Silicon Valley. But given that credit, it gave it in a left-handed way. Mafia, they called it mafia. Okay, not saying that Indians are doing well in Silicon Valley. So our publisher and editor, Mr. Advani, he decided that he will send a team of 4 people at a magazine's expense and tour all over United States and find out, first prepare the ground for it, network with as many people as possible from here, set up appointments, and then go literally from town to town, city to city, all over United States, because Silicon Valley is just a term. Formally speaking, Silicon Valley is some 50-60 kilometers from Stanford University to Berkeley University, okay, or San Jose, near San Francisco. But when we talk about Silicon Valley or high-tech industry in the United States, it's in many, many places, from Boston area to Washington area to Dallas to Southern California to San Francisco area and to Seattle and all that. So, and even some other places in Midwest, etc. So Silicon Valley is a metaphor. When we say Silicon Valley, we are talking about high-tech industry, basically. So when it's not that 30, 40, 50 kilometers. So now we went literally town to town, 4 of us, including one photographer, and tried to find as many Indians who had succeeded in high-tech industry as startups, as businessmen who had made millions of dollars and billions of dollars. So from 3, we discovered more than 70. And all of them were profiled in this special issue, which was a entire 200-page issue was only this. Profiling about 70 Indians, their stories, and what innovations they had done and how they succeeded. And they were all engineers who just went on maybe H-1B, may not be H-1B, whatever, and had gone and settled on. And then, but they competed in the most competitive environment. And they were all products of Indian system. They all studied in the, not just IITs. 50% we found were IITians, other 50% were non-IITians. There were College of Engineering, Pune, there were Delhi College of Engineering, there were VJTI, all kinds of, University College, Suratkal, or Vishwesvaraya College in Bangalore, all sorts of places we found. Because we even made a sociological analysis at the end of it. Initially, we just heard their stories. So anyway, this was a product of that. So that helped me understand what is happening in Silicon Valley at that time. Because out of 70, more than 45 of them, I personally interviewed and wrote in this. Second thing was around, based on that and several other visits to America, to Silicon Valley, I got an idea that, okay, these are all good people who made good money based on knowledge, based on new products, new ideas, right? But they were entrepreneurs. Now this wealth, their fame went down the moment market crashed. When the dot-com boom crashed in 2001, when the market crashed all over, first in US and also in India, if you remember, 2001, there was a big market crash here also. Okay, so at that time, many billionaires became millionaires and some millionaires became paupers also. So I made a project proposal saying that let us find out what has been fundamental contribution of Indians. Not just that they made money, and that too money in share market terms. Today it is there, tomorrow it is not there. You never know. Okay, which we saw, in front of our eyes, we saw. I did follow-up stories on that also. When the market crash happened, who stood up and who continued to add value, who continued to bring in new ideas and new companies. That also I wrote. But then I made this proposal, and then I was looking for that, which Indians have done fundamental contribution, whether in India or in America or Canada. These were the 3 major areas I looked at, because I didn't find that many elsewhere. 1 or 2 in UK, but that's about it. But even that was not very significant. And then when I made this proposal, I was still a journalist in Business India. This required travel. This required research. This required physical interviews. This required understanding. And when I was looking at digital technology, it was not just about one part of it. I was looking at whole history of computer science, computer engineering, semiconductors, chip industry, microelectronics, telecommunications, internet, lasers, fiber optics, entire thing which creates the ecosystem of what we today call digital world. Digital world is not one app, right? Or not one mobile phone. These are the enabling technologies. So in this enabling entire digital technology, what I called digital technology, what have Indians done? And in the context of what went on globally. So it's not just that Indians, but overall how these technologies evolved. And in that, what have Indians done of significance, of recognition, where their, like Oscar nomination, their peers will nominate them saying these are the stars. That was the criterion I set up, and I made the proposal to Tatas, and Tatas liked it, and said, of course, I had to go through lots of presentations. It all went up from to all the hierarchies in Tatas, including Mr. Ratan Tata, and finally they said, okay, this was in 2002, by the way, and they said in 2004, we are going to celebrate Tata centenary. So if you finish this book before that and release it in 2004, it will inspire young Indians. That was their objective. Not that I'm going to write on TCS or some other company or Tata company or what Tata is. Nothing to do with that. And they gave me, once they decided that this is worth doing, they gave me full support. I took 1.5 years leave from Business India, and they gave me an office, they gave me secretary, they gave me full support, travel support, everything. And as a result, for 8 months, I did research. I read the patents, I read books, papers, I read MTech and PhD level books also, because I'm not a electrical engineer or a software engineer or even I have physics knowledge. Okay. And even if I go to people in computer science, professors in IIT, they'll say, I know databases. If you go and talk to DB Pathak, for example, he'll say databases. That was his, main strength. But if you ask him about what about RDBMS, okay, he may or may not know. If it's somebody, you go to another computer scientist, he'll say, I know compilers, or I know this language, I know object-oriented programming, so on and so forth. So even if you go to computer science, the top people, whether in India or in US, the specialization even 25 years ago was so severe that one person will not tell you anything. So I had to do a lot of groundwork and study and all that, and understand whatever I could, and only used to go to them for any difficulties I had. So as a result of all that, after I have 157 CDs, okay, of interviews with more than 300 technologists in India and US and some in Canada. And after doing all that, the Tatas asked me to write a book for lay people. People may be interested in science and technology and maybe 12th standard level, So that was the challenge, and product of that was this. And I don't know people, and you can, by the way, download that. This is I put it up on the internet. You can get a PDF copy by going to archive.org now. And that will give you the story of how digital technology has evolved. Not only with the birth of transistor in 1948, but even earlier, when the whole idea of computing started, and so on and so forth. Okay. And a little bit of how even Aryabhatta and Brahmagupta and their ideas also influenced these things, etc. Okay. Or Jain ideas, Jain philosophical ideas of Shadwad, of Saptabhangi, which are, what are called multivalued logic systems, which have influenced fuzzy logic, what are called fuzzy systems. Now, all of us use washing machines, microwaves, television, all are using fuzzy systems and fuzzy logic. And the inspiration for fuzzy logic comes from multivalued systems, which have Buddhist and Jain origins. And it was done by an Iranian electrical engineer who was a professor in Berkeley. And he said that I was inspired by Eastern philosophies. He didn't say Jain and Buddhist, but we know that it was basically Jain and Buddhist philosophies, which have these multiple answers, not yes or no. What about something in between? You can't have 0 and 1 only. Some questions have 0 and 1 answers, but millions of questions in life do not have 0 and 1 answers, yes or no answers. Okay. So anyway, so this was one thing. Then other thing, this is just my own testimonial, because when I sent it to President Kalam, he sent me a personal letter from Rashtrapati Bhavan saying that I like this chapter and this segment and this section and all that, which showed that his PA didn't write it. That means because page numbers and sections were mentioned, and he was gracious enough, kind enough to send me that letter, personally signed letter saying that I liked your book. Okay. So that is more than any other award you can get. So I was very happy about it. But then later, 2016, Karnataka government got it translated into Kannada and published it, called Digital Kranti Mattu Bharata. That is a title, and it has been updated because 2016 already many new developments had occurred. That was, you can say, 2004 to 6 level of technology. And then other thing that happened is, when I was in TCS, for 10 years I worked in TCS. What have Indian IT industry done? Okay. Now, today we are all talking about artificial intelligence. Today we are talking about machines writing software. But TCS started doing it in 1970s. TCS built tools which are called case tools. computer-aided software engineering tools. That means computer itself can figure out whether in your code is what is right, what is wrong, how to like debug it, how to find problem areas or test it and so on. So artificial intelligence is not new. By the way, soon we'll be celebrating the 70th anniversary of artificial intelligence next year, because the first conference on artificial intelligence was held in 1956 in a college called Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, very close to Boston, where the top computer scientists and psychologists and economists of that time got together and produced what can machines do, what are the challenges and how to go about doing it, had a big idea. So they produced the first manifesto of artificial intelligence in 1956. Next year will be the 70th anniversary of that. So from the birth of the computer and digital computer itself, people started thinking, maybe the brain works like this. So maybe whatever brain does, we can teach the machine to do or create a machine. Of course, later after 20, 30 years, they found that brain is more complicated than a computer. Okay, that the brain produces many, many more things which computers cannot produce, like creativity, consciousness, so many other things. Okay, dreams. Okay, the machine cannot have all that. So anyway, but the point is, this attempt is not something which started with ChatGPT or with DeepSeek. This started 70 years ago. This is what is meant by research. One of the Indians who has got the highest, it is called the Nobel Prize in Computer Science. It is called Turing Award. Okay, there is no Nobel Prize for computer science, just like there is no Nobel Prize for mathematics. So this Turing Award, only Indian has got it. Only one Indian has got it so far. His name is Professor Raj Reddy. Interestingly, he was a civil engineer. Okay, who went to Australia, and then from there he landed up in America. And in America, he got into computer science in Stanford University in a PhD program in 1962-63. And what was he doing in Stanford University? Stanford University at that time had a research program on how a robo sent to robo vehicle. Today we talk about it now, Vikram and all these things we are sending to Mangalyaan and all that, and many others. NASA sends it, Japanese are sending it, Chinese are sending it to explore Mangal. Okay, Mangal Graha. So in 62, Stanford University had a research program on how to send, not how to send. If we send a robo to the surface of Mars, they were not bothered about how it will reach Mars. They were saying once it lands in Mars, how will it go around exploring it? Because it is more than 20 minutes away, right? So even if you send one signal, it will take half an hour to reach it or more than that. You can calculate it based on speed of light and so on, right? So you cannot control it from here. That means it should be intelligent enough to navigate in the surface of Mars. So that means it should see. It should see what is in front of it, and it should avoid ditch, khada, or some stone. So it should be able to navigate around it, right? So that is what a robo does on a exploration on the surface of Mars. This was a project in Stanford University in 1962-63. Had America reached Mars in 62-63? They had not even gone into Gaganyaan. Forget about reaching Mars and sending human beings or sending robots. Gagarin from Soviet Union had reached, was the first man in the orbit. Sputnik, the first satellite, was sent by Soviet Union. Americans were nowhere in the space race. No man had gone, nothing had gone to Mars or Moon, or even they had not even reached the upper atmosphere, and they were still, chota mota rockets were there. But they had a research program on if a robo lands on the Mars, how it will have the intelligence to navigate over it and explore. That is called research. Research in technology and in science does not mean that today I do something, give $1 million, it will give me something in 6 months, 1 year, maybe even 5 years. May not. Now, that means 60 years later, robots are being sent on Mars, and they are sending back by Chinese, by Indians, by the Americans, and so on, and even Japanese. They are all trying to see how to study Mars surface sitting here. Okay. So, but what came out of it was computer vision. What came out of it later, he moved into artificial intelligence, not only about vision. So today, when you say facial recognition, pattern recognition, biometrics and so on and so forth, where do they come from? They come from these types of originally engineering or mathematical and scientific questions. Okay. So if we do not invest in that, Koreans have done that, Japanese have done that, not just Americans. Chinese have done that massively. So they are moving up that value chain. They are not in the assembly anymore. Assembly of an iPhone, adding 5%. No, they are moving up. So we have to move up. If you want to create wealth, we have to come up with new ideas, new products, new devices, but new science, new understanding of processes also, and new challenges, in technology. Kaise karenge? For example, it's not, you don't have to be like great computer scientist. Look at all around you. Professor Sharma of UDCT, who is like the guru of all the chemical engineers in India and chemical industry, he used to say, I can do the best science by looking at an industrial problem. Best research papers in chemistry and chemical engineering I can write based on trying to solve an engineering problem in an industry. And he did that. He showed it in his own life. He's one of the few handful of Indian engineers who are recognized by the Royal Society of London. Now, Royal Society of London recognizes science, not engineering, generally speaking. Number two, it is very easy to become fellow of Royal Society if you are an American, if you are a British, or even what are called dominions, Canadian, Australian, etc., New Zealander, etc. Not if you are an Indian. So despite that, at least 4 or 5 Indian engineers have become FRS now. Professor Sharma is one. Professor Radham Narasimha, who passed away, was another who was a great aerospace scientist. Professor Dhawan's student. And he led the whole, a lot of developments in aerospace in India. And Dr. Mashelkar is another. And Professor Vidyasagar now is another, who is a doyen of control systems. In fact, his team, he came back from US, and Professor Dr. Kalam asked him to set up the first artificial intelligence and robotics laboratory for defense research. When was that? Not yesterday, in 1985-86. That time, CAIR, Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, was set up in Bangalore under the leadership of Professor Vidyasagar. And it is his team which developed the most complex digital control systems for Tejas light combat aircraft. Today, we are proud of Tejas, even though we don't have its engine, we still have to develop its engine. We are dependent on General Electric sending us an engine or not, because we have not been able to produce that level of engine, jet engine. But the control systems have been proven by test pilots, not only in India, but all over the world, that Tejas control system is absolutely top notch. That is because of the effort done in CIIR, Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics in Bangalore, and Professor Vidyasagar led it. Okay, so people like that, now this is another one. I was talking about artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is nothing new, and even TCS in various ways started practicing it in 70s and 80s and produced many tools which it uses internally. The point is, TCS is not that is as by, I don't know, maybe it is a character flaw or maybe it is its strength. It doesn't talk too much about what it's doing. Okay, maybe Professor Devdar was also similar, right? He used to silently work and take something challenges and go forward. So TCS set up its R&D in 1981. JRD Tata set it up. It is called TRDDC, Tata Research Design Development Center. Not just research and development, but also design in Pune, in Hadapsar. And 2006, it completed its 25 years, Silver Jubilee. So I was working in TCS, so I brought out 31 case studies of new technologies and solutions developed in that research center. It is called research by design. Means by design with an aim. It's not a blue sky research. With a target that you do research and also get useful results, useful patents, useful research papers and this. And again, I was fortunate that this book was released by President Kalam in Pune in 2007. So this is the basis on which I'm talking, okay? Why I'm talking about myself is not to like say how great I am. No, I'm not great. I didn't create any technology. The topic of today is, can we produce in India, for India and the world technology? Have I produced any technology like that? No. Have I produced technology for India? No. Have I produced technology for the world? No. Then how am I talking about it? Only by talking to others, trying to like learn from them and trying to create a history of that, how these things have evolved. So that is my credentials and nothing more and nothing less. So when you want to study any subject, always look at where does this come from? Is it coming from WhatsApp University or is it coming from serious study? This is very important. Otherwise, आजकल both internet में बहुत कुछ चलता रहता है, and it doesn't get you anywhere. No serious work can be done based on that. Anyway, so I overshot my time. I'll probably take questions in interaction session. Maybe we'll discuss it. But I just want to say, did India, in the ancient India, have any technology? And there are whole bunches of technology which we see. And that is the reason India was prosperous. And that is the reason Europeans came here. Don't forget that. Till about 1600, if you look at the history of science and technology in the world, India and China led the world in terms of ideas, in terms of technologies, in terms of science of that period. Okay. And in fact, I have a whole article, several page article on that and what were those achievements and how they could have happened and all that. Some glimpses of that. We can talk about it later, but these are some of them. Zinc metallurgy, steel metallurgy, casting and forging, the best of the forged cannons in Bijapur, in Golconda, in Tanjore, in many of the medieval forts that you find today, they are forged cannons. There is a special forging metallurgy which was developed at that time. These were all 15th century, 16th century, Bahmani Sultans and all that, time, Adil Shahis and all that. So it's not that the development of technology did not depend on who is the king and not there, who is the government and all that. Even today, this is true. Trump is there or Biden is there or Clinton is there. It doesn't matter. Same thing in India, whether it is Manmohan Singh or Modi, whoever is the government, the way economy evolves, science and technology evolves does not depend on the government. Government can at the most create some policies. Policies don't create technology. Most of the time, policies remain in their files. Okay, which is what Mr. Devdar also saying. You read his capital punishment. Even when you formulate a very forward-looking policy, it remains in the book. For example, new education policy. You can debate whether it is good or bad or what are weak points, what are strong points. But it's a policy. If it has to reach tens of millions of children, you need millions of teachers who are going to teach that, who understand that and are able to communicate it. Then the children follow that and then develop something new. So policy, like I have seen enough education policies. There is 600-page Kothari Commission report in 1960s made on university higher education. Very good. Excellent policy. So just policy does not lead to reality. Reality, lot of people, ordinary people work, innovate, struggle, compete. And that is how economy develops, innovation, science and technology develops. Okay. So many times, despite the policy and despite the system, things develop. And in fact, Indian IT industry is a classic case of that. Because government didn't have a department, actually IT industry developed. Because, it was under the radar, as they say. So a lot of people tried in many ways how to find solutions to Indian problems and how to find solutions to world's IT problems. And that is how the Indian IT industry developed. And even today, that is one of the biggest contributions of India. By the way, in fact, the Chinese Prime Minister told us that when he came to TCS office in 2005, when Jiabao came to our office, and I was lucky to be part of the TCS delegation there in 2005 during his visit. And he said, Indian software and Chinese hardware, we can the next century will be ours. And it is with that spirit today, of course, whether Xi Jinping thinks or says like that or not, we don't know. Okay. And anyway, they have also gone far ahead in many other aspects of technology. In those days, they were desperately trying to learn software engineering from India. They were welcoming Indian IT companies to come and set up offices in China. They were ready to give free office space, free real estate. Because I myself visited China in 2004. We built one building and call it IT Park. We are very happy. Bangalore mein kiya, Vashi station mein kiya, Hyderabad mein kiya and all that. Okay. I went to one mid-sized Indian Chinese city, and the entire city was built and it was all empty. They were just waiting for companies to come and settle down there. Okay, basically foreign companies. And I asked them, oh, how did you do this and all that? He said there are 35, 40 like this. This is just one of them, mid-sized one. Okay, all empty. They are great builders. Don't get confused by building, okay? Because after all, they built 6,000 kilometers of a wall. Anybody is crazy enough to build a 6,000 kilometer wall or can build anything. And my colleagues in China told me, like in 6 months, they built a 300 kilometer 6-lane highway. They're great builders. But we should acknowledge their strengths. But at the same time, in terms of they were desperately wanted to know how do you build complex IT solutions. What is it that India did is develop how a car is made, right? You talk about assembly line, components, different systems together putting up a car. This is what Ford did. Later, Toyota took it to the next level, what is called just-in-time manufacturing. What Indian IT, starting with TCS, then later Wipro, Infosys, etc., contributed to is developing that kind of a system for software. In our days, programming meant I sit in front of a computer. Mostly it was a big mainframe computer and, key in my code and see whether the program works. And if I'm a brilliant programmer, my program works the first time and it is beautiful. It gives me the result and great, etc., etc. So it depended on my abilities. It is like a great artisan, a great painter, right? Or a great kumbhar. He'll make a beautiful vase. But that's not industry. That's the artisan work. You are a brilliant craftsman. Can you make 1 million of them with the same standards, with no defects? That is called engineering. That is called industrialization. So what Indian IT did is to industrialize software writing, industrialize breaking down complex projects into lots of tasks and give all those tasks to different teams, and then make sure that those solutions, bits and pieces built by different, are made of the same standard and that they all fit together like a Lego, like a jigsaw puzzle. It's not that this team built something and it cannot, that part of the software cannot talk to the other team's software. So this kind of engineering industrialization is what India achieved. And that is the reason the whole world comes to India for software engineering. Even today, IBM has more engineers working in India than in America. They don't want to publicize it because there will be like, stones thrown over the office there. And every multinational is now coming here to develop what today we are talking about. They're called GCCs, Global Capability Centers. That means they are not doing even software. They are doing cutting edge research in pharmaceuticals, in polymers, in aerospace, in IT, in quantum, all sorts of things, even chip design. India has the largest number of chip designers. Only thing is they're all working for multinationals. There are hardly any chip design companies which are fighting in the marketplace. And it is interesting that 30 years ago, Mr. Devdar designed his own chip for that smart card, got that chip made in the semiconductor complex of Chandigarh and created that smart card. So it is not just that payphone, smart card, developed this payphone, everything from bottoms up, he built that solution. So, but the point is, now this is technology development. Again, this does not mean success in business. In fact, it is not just Indians. British cry about it. British say we develop science in Britain, but technology is made in America. Business is made in America. Entire Europe says that. If you look at after the Second World War, all technological development, all business based on technology has happened in America. Not in Germany, not in France, not in Sweden, not in, of course, there are one or two exceptions. Okay, but one or two exceptions. SAP is a German company. But even that, most of it, people are, today, they are saying their biggest center is in Bangalore. Research center, by the way. And so on. So everybody goes to America. Why? Because there is an ecosystem that was built up. When Jagdish Chandra Bose, all of you know about Jagdish Chandra Bose, Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose, we say, right? What do you know about Jagdish Chandra Bose? If at all people know in India about Jagdish Chandra Bose, they say, oh, he said that plants can also feel. Correct. Jagdish Chandra Bose created the components for radio. He developed today what we call microwave engineering or millimeter waves engineering. Jagdish Chandra Bose started it. He demonstrated it in Calcutta. He went to London and demonstrated it. Then you know what happened? One American gentleman came to him. And he was staying in a hotel and he met Jagdish Chandra Bose and said, Mr. Bose, you should patent this. Bose said, what is patent? I don't know. And what is the use of patent? He said, no, you should patent it. So Jagdish Chandra Bose has the first patent in what today we call solid state electronics. It was applied in 1901 and it was granted in 1904. I even have a copy of that. I don't have the time to show you all that. So Jagdish Chandra Bose in the 1890s, sitting in Calcutta, okay, under colonial rule, with whatever little lab he could develop in Presidency College, etc., in Calcutta, he was able to do these things. So people who learned modern science, we miss the industrial revolution. So if you look at, we have all these examples of what we had done before 1600. Okay. But after 1600, we missed everything. Telephone, America. Telegraph, UK and US. Gramophone, UK. Tape recorder, Germany. CD, Japan and Holland. DVD, Japan. Xerox, US. Thumb drive, US. By the way, the thumb drive was done by an Indian in US. Okay. But not here. It's called Sanjay Mehrotra. Fax, US. Cinema, France. Airplane, US. Mobile, US. Computer, US. Internet, US. WhatsApp, US. Car, US and Germany. Okay. Benz and all these, diesel engines, petrol engines, all these things, development took place largely first in Europe and then also in US. Scooter, Italy. That's how Vespa Lambretta came here. And that's how later Bajaj and other things came up here. Okay. Motorbike, Europe. Bus, Europe. Railway, UK. High-speed bullet train, Japan. Metro, UK, USSR and France. Jet airplane, UK. Radio, Italy. TV, UK. Guns, big and small, primarily in Europe. Tanks, Germany. Submarines, Germany. Modern steel mills, modern way of making blast furnace and all these other things, steel mills, again, Europe. Several countries contributed to that. Atom bomb, America and Russia, USSR rather. Cement, UK. RCC concrete, France. Earthquake-proof building, Japan. Tar road, UK. Aluminum, Europe. Tap water supply, Europe. Clothes, polyester, nylon, etc. Artificial, what we call man-made fibers, UK and US. Plastic, US and Germany. Air conditioning, US. Fridge, US. Electricity as a whole, okay, complex things, UK. Electric bulb, US. Printing press, Germany. Fans, UK. Motors, overall, UK. Pump sets, Europe, again, because number of countries contributed to that. Ballistic missiles, Germany. Okay. It was later those missile engineers which were taken over and given the NASA headquarters, and that's how the American rocket technology developed. And the European rocket technology, interestingly, which started in Britain and later Germany developed it into missiles later, and that English engineer who is called the father of rocketry took Tipu's rockets from the Anglo-Mysore War and understood the concepts that Tipu Sultan had applied to rocketry and developed it. That today we call it Kargil rockets. But they're actually original designs are of Indian origin. Anyway, But the point is, what I'm trying to say is ordinary things, which today we call modern living. Everything we are seeing has been developed in these countries. So what have we done is a question mark. Have we done anything? Can Indians do anything or something wrong with us? And if you want to know, can Indians do it? Forget whether in India or anywhere, then you find that, I mean, I can keep listing what all things have not been done here, which you use every day, MRI, CT scan, blood tests, every damn thing you can think of. But I can give you some examples. Entire fiber optics, you can say father of a technology. Normally speaking, we do not talk about father, mother of any technology, because today it is meaningless. Because thousands of people work in multiple countries and within minutes they collaborate, compete, everything, and that's how technology comes. It is not the age of Alva Edison or Faraday or Graham Bell and all that. When one inventor could say, I have patented this, I have developed this, mine is better, cheaper, etc. Okay, but still, when it comes to fiber optics, that when it comes to that, a light can be sent through a bent, through a curved line, through a glass fiber, that is a Indian contribution. This was PhD thesis, PhD work of Narendra Singh Kapani, who was a Dehradun boy and who went to do his diploma and later PhD in Imperial College in London in 1951. And in 54, he wrote a paper in Nature and also wrote his PhD thesis, which proved it. So, and also he gave the name fiber optics. So if at all anybody is called the father who created fiber optics, it is Narendra Singh Kapani. Unfortunately, he passed away just 2 years back. I met him several times and interviewed him and all that. But he's a Dehradun boy. But of course, he did it in UK. So it's nothing wrong with Indians. N. Jayant from Karnataka, from PhD from IISc, his team developed MP3, which all of us use. Vishnu Atal, he is another from PhD from Indian Institute of Science. In Bell Labs in America, he developed a coding system which is used by every single mobile phone. It's called linear predictive coding. Every mobile phone in the world uses a version of that. Kumar Patel, he again, College of Engineering, Pune graduate. He went to America in Bell Labs. He created first these what are called gas lasers and particularly carbon dioxide laser. Praveen Chaudhary, he created from IIT Delhi. He created magnetic memory in IBM. Janak Patel in Illinois. He created the first basic test algorithms for chip design. Whether the design will work or not, how do you know? You can't spend millions of dollars and make a chip and find that it doesn't work. So how do you check a design itself? What are the testing algorithms? He developed it. He's a professor in the University of Illinois at Urbana. Sam Pitroda, he got original patents in switching. Later, he brought it to the notice of Mrs. Gandhi and later Rajiv Gandhi, and who helped him set up CDOT, gave him freedom, and that CDOT created the switch, which first time digitized telecom in India. And not only that, till today, the highest selling switch in the world, highest installations is still a CDOT switch. Not made by Alcatel, not made by Ericsson, not made by Nokia, not made by any other telecom company, but organization set up called CDOT, designed by CDOT. Okay, which of course they shared that technology with many SMEs and then so on and so forth. And the whole industry came up to do that. Okay, Arun Netrawali, he's a Bombay boy. He studied in a municipal school, okay, in Dadar. His father was not well off, but he was bright enough. He got into IIT Bombay, became President's Gold Medal, became the topper in IIT Bombay, went to America, and it is his team which developed today what we call HDTV. But one thing I want to tell you, there is also a difference between technology development and product development. Okay, just like JC Bose developed the technology, but who developed the product? Marconi. Who got the Nobel Prize? Marconi, not Bose. Who got the Nobel Prize for even fiber optics? Not Kapani. Another Chinese engineer who used fiber optics to send laser beams to use for communication. And Kapani did not use it for communication. He developed it for medical purposes. So today, At least the medical Nobel Prize should have been given to him, because today we use endoscopy, colonoscopy, this scopy, that scopy, all, all these laparoscopy, etc., where we are using fiber optic cables to see what is inside and use it to do all kinds of surgeries. That is based on his patents and his original paper. But anyway, but entire internet depends on a technology called TCP/IP, Transfer Control Protocol and Internet Protocol. Okay. And that TCP/IP developed by 3 people in Stanford University. A professor called Winton Cerf. I met him, I discussed with him, and he acknowledged it also, and 2 of his students. One was Carl Sunshine and another one was Bombay boy from IIT Bombay called Yogen Dalal. Okay. So that is the basis of the internet actually. Abhay Bhushan from IIT Kanpur created the first email in 1972. Just can a computer send a message to another computer addressed to one particular person type of thing. Jayant Baliga, Professor Devdar Saab was interested in power electronics. Similarly, Jayant Baliga from IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, sorry, he in General Electric R&D, he went to US later, he did his PhD in America and then joined General Electric. There he developed a new kind of power transistors called IGBT, insulated gate bipolar transistors. And they have to be used in everything from bullet trains to the defibrillators, which are used, for giving you shocks to revive you when you have got a heart attack. Okay. Jayant Baliga is from Indian boy. Okay. Paul Raj, Indian Navy officer. He created the technology, maximum number of patents for 4G and 5G in Stanford University later. Sanjay Mehrotra, I already mentioned, thumb drive. Okay. Rajiv Motwani, IIT Kanpur guy. He is the father of Google, actually. It is his paper. He was the guru of the founders of Google, Sergey, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. They were PhD students of somebody else. They were not even his students. They came to him for help, and 3 of them together wrote the foundational paper for Google. And when Google became a company and successful company, they gave him a Guru Dakshina of Google shares, which are at that time were worth $1 billion. Now I don't know how much they are worth. Unfortunately, he passed away in an accident in 2009. Wonderful guy. Okay. Bala Manian, he is actually a mechanical engineer. He developed in the technology in optics, which later was picked up by Hollywood. So today, if any Indian got the Oscar, he's the first Indian to get Oscar. Have you heard of him? In 1999, he was got an Oscar because entire computer-generated graphics, what we call special effects of Hollywood, including 2 biggest companies in the world, Pixar and Industrial Light and Magic, which created the Star Wars movies and all that. They picked up his patents and developed their computer graphics thing. So Bala Manian was given for his contribution to cinematography in Hollywood. Technical Oscar was given in 1999. Okay, you must have heard about Narayan Wagul, who was the chairman of ICICI at one time. He's his brother, Bala Manian. So, and he also studied in the same institute, which is called Madras Institute of Technology, where Dr. Kalam also studied. Okay, same place. Anyway, so what I want to say is there's nothing wrong with the Indian brain. I am just throwing a lot of examples at you. I don't have time to even say anything more than that. I already run off lots of signals I'm getting to wind up. Okay. But nothing wrong in the Indian brain, provided there is an encouragement ecosystem and that it's very fertile and inventive. So though we missed the industrial revolution of the 18th century, 19th century, and even 20th century, most of it. But when it came to digital technology, we have been able to produce people who have made major contributions. I wouldn't say things like, oh, Silicon Valley runs on Indians. No, no, no. Don't make such things. India is a superpower. Please don't do such things. Don't overestimate yourself. That is just insecure people do that. China leader who built up China is called Deng Xiaoping. You know what he said? He said that put your head down and work. Don't talk too much. Just do the work. The world will recognize you. Build your strength, build your inventions, build your products, build your technology. Okay. So let's not say we did this, we did that, because it's not historically correct also. Even when we talk about we discovered zero, there are other civilizations who also use zero. So in science, in ideas, in technology, you cannot say so and so created it. Many complex ways ideas get exchanged and lead to many things in different places. You can say we also did it. We also created value out of it. We also improved our quality of life with it and so on. Okay. And nobody has the right to say it. Not Europe, not America, not anybody else. Not just India. But definitely just because we feel that we have been subjected under colonialism, we have an inferiority complex, oh, maybe like we're not enough, everything came from Europe and all that. Uska counter ye nahi hona chahiye ki we knew everything or we know everything also. Both are wrong. Okay. So basically, there are several other things I could have said. What is the advanced technology we have developed in India and what has been like UPI is one of them, which an RBI organization called National Payment Corporation developed the UPI. Today, every country wants to study it, including America, has been studying it. What is its strength? How it can be used? Can it be used to bypass the dollar? That also they are studying seriously. Okay, so on. So ISRO's INSAT system, IRS system, remote sensing satellites, communication satellites, and the rocket system, PSLV and GSLV. Today, they have brought all the whatever fruits of space technology to India, and they are able to launch hundreds of foreign satellites also. Okay. And I already talked to you about IT industry. Pharma, similarly, pesticides and pharma. People like K.K. Garda, Anji Reddy, D.B. Gupta, Y.K. Hamid, Parvinder Singh, and nowadays younger generation, Khorakiwala, Wokat, who have come up with a brand new antibiotic. It is the first antibiotic, brand new antibiotic, researched, developed, and undergoing trials in India. Okay. And Centromon was a drug produced by CSIR laboratory, and again it was a path-breaking drug. Okay, in birth control, and so on. So guided missiles, by the way, that is the contribution of Abdul Kalam. What is a ballistic missile and what is a guided missile? India didn't start with ballistic missiles. Ballistic missile means what? You throw a stone. That is a ballistic missile. Because once you throw it, you can't guide it. It will go and drop at a fixed place. You can do usual projectile motion or more complicated studies of, air resistance, this, that, and the other, and say where it is going to fall, and like an artillery shell. But IMGP, Integrated Guided Missile Program, IGMP, which started in 81, 82 under Mrs. Gandhi, and Dr. Kalam headed it, was for guided missiles. So that is why Agni was a guided missile. That's why nobody was so bothered about Prithvi. But Americans and everybody was always watching Agni because it is a guided missile. Okay, that means you can guide it even after firing it. You can change its trajectory. Okay, now of course you have more complicated technologies, multiple in one rocket, you can do multiple targeting and all that sort of thing. Anyway, but the point is, these were major technology developments which nobody will give you. Similarly, a lot of nuclear technology, space technology, so many other things, nobody will give you at whatever price you want to give. Same thing with today we are finding. Who is ready to give you jet engines? Nobody wants to give you. They will say buy ours. Or they will say we'll send you parts, you assemble it here in Nashik in HAL factory or somewhere else. No, not Rafale, not General Electric. Nobody wants to give you. You have to develop it yourself. We have tried it. We have reached a certain level. There is something called Gas Turbine Research Establishment in Bangalore, which has worked very hard. But we have not reached that stage where we can actually use it to fly Tejas or the next generation fighters. It just fell short for it. It has reached about 50 kilonewtons. And with extension, it has reached 60, 70 kilonewtons. Well, we needed 100 kilonewtons. So that is, if we are able to cross that, India will become, you can say, independent. And Chinese also all this time depended on Russian engines. But now they have developed their own engine, which they are trying it out. Once they develop that, they will not be dependent on Russia for their air force systems. Okay. So lot of technologies, nobody is ready to give you at whatever price. Right. So those are the technologies you have to develop yourself. But technology for the world, right? Can Indians do it? Can it serve India and can it serve the world? So these are just few things. I want you read it one by one. I'm not going to explain it. IT services is world-class. Satellite launch services again are world-class. Everybody is using it. Fast breeder reactor. once India puts it online, it is actually going to be commissioned in Kalpakkam. It has been held up because it's a very complicated technology. It has to be done carefully. Then India will be at the cutting edge of nuclear power. If the Kalpakkam reactor, 500 megawatt fast breeder reactor, which is based on plutonium, not uranium, when that comes into being, it will be a fast breeder reactor. That means it will burn 1 ton of fuel and produce you 1+ ton of fissile material. That's why it's called a breeder. Normally, you burn fuel and produce energy, right? And the rest becomes waste. Breeder reactor creates more fuel than what it consumes. So that will be a major breakthrough. Many countries have tried it and given up. India has been at it for last almost 50 years. And finally, it has been in, almost ready to launch anytime type of thing. Maybe it will happen this year or next year. But once it goes commercial, starts producing electricity and connects to the grid, 500 megawatts of it, you would have said again, many people will think differently about India's nuclear technology. C-dot switch, I already mentioned. Generic drugs, I also said, because it's not just a matter of copying some pharmaceutical molecule. Many people say, oh, these are copycats. No. Dr. Reddy, T.B. Gupta, Parvinder Singh, Y.K. Hamid had to fight patent cases, not only in India, but in US and many other countries, and proved that their processes, their products were cheaper, better, safer than the original patent holders. That is how they established themselves. That is how the Indian pharma established itself. But today, again, we are facing some other issues, because later that some of that very, very clever chemistry which started the Indian drug industry in the 80s and 90s has gone into business model where you import intermediates and basic drugs from China, and then you formulate and sell it to America. So now you become dependent on those inputs for China, not Hyderabad and Ankleshwar and Vapi, okay, which was our original strength. So we have to get back to that, but it's not a technology problem. It's a focus and problem. UPI, we already mentioned, digital infrastructure, and again, banking and stock exchange. By the way, when we set up National Stock Exchange, many countries, including China, Russia, many other country delegations used to come here to study National Stock Exchange, because it was as good as NASDAQ, which is the first real technology stock exchange in the world. And it was using 25% of NASDAQ's computing resources. So it was much more efficient than NASDAQ system. And set up in Mumbai by Indian engineers. Entire system designed, architected, and implemented. Okay. And similarly, so there are many other such solutions which are world-class. And because of that, Indian IT got contracts abroad to build their stock exchanges, their depository systems, their dematerialization of shares, and all sorts of things in financial services. Modern financial system they built in India, and also that with that they were able to go out and say, see here, we built it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Anybody is having question?